Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last week, Secretary of the Interior Sally Jewell commemorated National Park Week by giving a speech at the National Geographic Society, a world-renowned private organization that assisted in the very creation of our national park system. In this address, she laid out a vision for not only the second century of the National Park Service, but a vision for the next century of American conservation. She also reflected on our nation's proud legacy of public lands and the many generations of Americans who have sought them out to reconnect with their families and their communities. Secretary Jewell is right. The idea that there should be national public lands that belong to and are managed on behalf of the American people is a value that dates back to the founding of our country and is embedded in our Constitution. Generation after generation of Americans have endorsed the idea that our public lands should be managed for the benefit of all Americans to support a wide range of uses, including recreation and sportsmen's activities, energy development, and protecting open spaces that provide wildlife habitat, clean water, and clean air. And we all want to see this important aspect of our national heritage managed in an effective and efficient manner, so we rely on professionally staffed agencies like the Bureau of Land Management and the U.S. Forest Service. As we will hear today, these agencies are invested deeply in working with local communities. For example, in New England, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service recently worked together with the states, the local communities, foresters, conservationists, private landowners, and other key stakeholders to prevent the New England cottontail from being listed under the Endangered Species Act. However, instead of increasing burdens on the land management agencies, we should be having constructive conversations about how we can give you more tools in the toolbox to help you be better partners. The biggest incentive we have to reach this goal is that local communities benefit enormously when partnerships with federal land management agencies are strong and working effectively. According to Headwaters Economics, a nonpartisan independent think tank from Montana, on average, counties with national parks, wilderness, national monuments, and other forms of protected public lands see increased economic performance. From 1970 to 2014, rural counties with the highest percentage of protected public land have experienced 75% more population growth, 165% more employment growth, and 226% more growth in personal income than those counties with smaller percentages of protected public lands. Public lands are also the backbone of our $646 billion outdoor recreation economy, supporting 6.1 million jobs. A recent study released by the Small Business Majority also found that national monuments designated by President Obama have provided significant boost to small businesses in rural communities, driving $156 million in annual revenue and creating more than 1,800 jobs a year. Returning to Secretary Jewell's speech, she also reminded us that we need to, quote, think big, unquote, if we want to continue the legacy of conservation greats like Teddy Roosevelt, John Muir, and Gifford Pinchot. Attacking programs like the Bipartisan Land and Water Conservation Fund is not how we achieve such goals. In fact, just last week, the Senate passed legislation that included permanent reauthorization of LWCF with 85 votes, including votes from Republican senators from Utah, Nevada, Alaska, Texas, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, Georgia, Illinois, Colorado, Louisiana, South Carolina, and Arizona. Here in the House, Ranking Member Grijalva's legislation to permanently reauthorize the fund now has 205 bipartisan co-sponsors. We should be working together on proposals like LWCF that strengthen management of our public lands, foster their multi-use mandate, and benefit the people who rely on them for their economic livelihoods. Goals the legislation before us today unfortunately fails to advance. I look forward to the testimony from our witnesses, and I yield back the balance of my time.